We start, are we live?
Yes, start up.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the second day of the virtual National Conference Values Today, Civilization Tomorrow, organized by the Heartfulness Education Trust. The topic for today's session is creating future ready schools. My name is Apala and I'll be the moderator for this session. While everyone is joining in, allow me to share the structure of this program. We'll start with a brief introduction, followed by 4 paper presentation, where experts in the field of education will share their findings and ideas with us. After that, we'll have a panel discussion. During the session, we'll also interact with the audience through the Menti app, and you can post your questions in the chat box. As part of our esteemed panel, we have with us today Dr. Ranjani Iyer, Vipul Reddy, and Dr. Anjali Gurjar. For paper presentation, we have with us Ms. Nandini Agarwal, Ms. Mridula Kolale, Ms. Neeru Malik, and Ms. Anjali Kuti. Our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for accepting our invite and joining us for this session. I would also like to welcome the audience members who have joined us today online for this session and our volunteers from the Heartfulness team. With COVID-19, the world has come to a standstill, but digital education has been the savior for students and teachers. Though the digital education has many advantages, it also has some cons to it. We have a discussion going on around the world about how to take education forward, with policies being introduced both globally and in our country. In today's session, we'll discuss about the education policies, holistic development, brain-heart connect, and the importance of soft skills and life skills in today's day and age. To make the session more interactive, we'll try to engage the audience with a Menti question. So let's start with the icebreaker question. And what you can do is, if you have been following us through these sessions, you may be already aware about the Menti app. If you don't have an app, you can open your browser, either Mozilla or Chrome, and enter the link www.menti.com. And in your screen, there will be a code that you can enter in the site. The question that we have today is a bit tricky actually, and you will have to use maybe your thoughts, your views about what should be a future ready schools. So just imagine what kind of a future, what kind of a school in the future you want for your kids or for yourself, or as an educationalist or as a teacher, what kind of a school do you want to give to your students and the coming generation? So as you can see on the screen, we have the question with us. Give one word that will describe a future ready education, a future ready school. So you can open the app, Menti app, or you can go to the site www.menti.com and use the code 8914950. So describe in one word, what are your expectations about a future ready school? So repeating myself, you can log on to the Menti app, or you can go to your browser, that is a Chrome or a Mozilla, And you can go to the link. Oh, I see some answers coming. And you can go to the link www.menti.com and use the code 8914950. So yeah, a lot of good answers. Creative, compassion, balance, sports is so important. Student friendly, compassion, creative, values, awareness, imbibing. That's great. Spiritual, wow. Interacting with students, true. I see some answers coming in the chat box also. Collaborative, innovative, application of knowledge, very important. We just keep on thinking about how to read, but the application part of it, very important. Self-independent, very nice. Learner-centered, wow. And teaching, joyful, all good words that we have here today. Creative, just is nice. This collaborative, wow, it's such lovely words we see here. Flexible, sure, every child is different. How can we see that it is flexible, joyful? That's nice. Ethical, wow, ethical, something that we all need in today's day and age. Open-minded, collaborate, very nice. I think we have some very good answers coming in, and the teachers and the faculty and the parents who have joined, I think the teachers and principals can take a note what are the expectations and great inputs. Thank you so much. Thank you. So on that note, let's start with the paper presentation. So before we start the presentation, I'll brief you that all the questions that you have will be taken after the presentations end. That is after all the 4 presentations. Please keep your question in the chat box. You can and mention the name of the presenter to whom the question is directed. And we can take it up once all the presentations are done. So the first presentation is from Brighter Minds. Brighter Minds is a connect of Heartfulness, which is an educational initiative. Through this, we are working with children, youth, and adults in a neuroscientific way for enhancing cognitive abilities. The title for the paper is Enhancing Cognitive Abilities in Children by Monitored Neurocognitive Training in the Right and Controlled Learning Environment. This is written by a team of 5 members from research team of Brighter Minds and Con IQ Excellence, and they are all attending the session with us today. This paper is written and presented by the following research team of Brighter Minds: Mrs. Surbhi Sahai from Con IQ Excellence, Dr. Shubha from KN Government PG College, Gyanpur, Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Swaraj from Con IQ Excellence, Dr. Shikhi Sahai from ECC, Professor at Autonomous College of University of Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh, Ms. Nandini from Erasmus University, Rotterdam, Netherlands. So Ms. Nandini will be presenting on behalf of the team today. Welcome, ma'am, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Apara. I'm going to my screen. Give me a second. Yes. All right. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure presenting to all of you. Well, today, as Apala mentioned before, I'll be talking about how neurocognitive training helps or enhances cognitive abilities in children in a right controlled environment. So what if I tell you that I have met students who, when blindfolded, they could read without even looking, or they could even write. And if I gave them colored balls, they could tell me the color of the balls blindfolded. So that's something which is very surprising. And the usual reaction for this is, oh, is this magical, or nah, it must be some supernatural powers, or usually people don't believe me when I say this. But the answer is very, very simple. It's just simple brain training program that offer to children that can enhance their cognitive functions. That is what Brighter Minds and Cognitive Excellence we do here. We aim to enhance children's sensory perceptions and their cognitive functions. Now, sensory perceptions are basic sense organs. For example, your touch, sight, how you taste, smell, hearing, and cognitive functions deals with your attention, memory, intelligence, executive functions, etc. Well, Brighter Minds as a whole, what we have seen with our students is that giving them this kind of cognitive training has shown a considerable increase in attention span, memory, comprehension, self-confidence, observation, intuition, empathy, and decrease in aggression. So this is something very surprising to see. There's so much of enhancement in their cognitive functions with such cognitive training, with such easy brain exercises. Well, to back our results and to see how does this actually happen, we have a few neurological theories that we refer to. So such as neuroplasticity, binaural beats, brainwave entrainment, and sensory substitution. Now, these words might seem very heavy right now or might be too hard to understand. So I'm going to make it easier by explaining it a bit. Well, what neuroplasticity is, you learn something new, your brain starts to rewire and it starts to take in what the information you're learning. So very well designed cognitive interventions can help you rewire your brain. So there was this very interesting experiment done by Teresa et al. In 2015, where she had taken a few students who had mathematical learning disability. So what they did was they gave these students an 8-week of intensive cognitive training. And they had a pre and a post brain scan. So in the pre-test, of course, they saw that, okay, their brain differed a lot from normally functioning children. But after cognitive training, they saw that their brain started rewiring. It started forming, and it was not much difference between the MLA, the mathematical learning difficulty children, and the normally functioning children. So this shows that neuroplasticity does work and can be done with interventions, with good cognitive interventions. The next one I was talking about is the binaural beats. Now, this is simply some auditory stimulus which enhances your brain to go into alpha state. Now, what alpha state does is it helps your brain stem to regulate vigilance, concentration, and attention. So when you're in the alpha state, you will start noticing more on what exactly is happening in your environment. And this is exactly what brainwave entrainment program does. It takes in these alpha waves and it helps synchronize your left and your right hemisphere so that they work together. And lastly, most importantly, is the sensory substitution. Now, Brighter Minds focuses a lot on this because in the end, the results that we see is even if you blindfold a child, they'll be able to tell you exactly what you're giving them without even looking. So what this sensory substitution theory tells us about is if your one sensory organ is blocked, you can enhance your other sense organs to compensate for that one. So this is not exactly like vision, but since if you feel something, it starts to generate the information in your primary visual cortex. So you do get an idea of what you're seeing or what's actually happening in your environment. And a lot of experiments have been done talking about sensory substitution. So in short, Brighter Minds program, what we offer is we have a 30 hours of cognitive training for 8 weeks. So in the first week, we have 2 consecutive sessions. And then later we have 7 follow-up sessions over the weekends. Every session lasts for about 3.5 hours. And we also provide 2 lifelong relaxation mobile apps to the parents or the caregivers. So during these sessions, what we do is we give the children various exercises. So we start with brain exercises, then we move on to eyeball exercises, then breathing exercises, relaxation techniques, and lastly, we move on to the blindfolded activities. So all of this together helps to get that alpha state and helps to synchronize the left and the right hemisphere so that children can in the end perform the blindfolded activities. They can perform the sensory substitution act. So we very well understand that how everybody is unique and every child responds very differently. And this can be very well explained with a cricket example. So if you put your child to play cricket, now they are exposed to different aspects. So some might be very good at batting, some might be really good at bowling, fielding, wicket keeping, whatnot. And some might even be all-rounders. So everybody is so different from each other, and Brighter Minds takes that individual difference into consideration, and we see, okay, so for this child, what kind of aspect is suiting, or what kind of brain mechanism does it work for this children? So we take all of this into consideration, and we design a program like that. So our brain training is most of the curriculum, I would say, because it unleashes your inner potential. Nowadays that I see, there's a lot of digitization. There's so much of information flowing in, and that's really nice. The world's getting more modern. But what we're forgetting is we have so much more to explore within ourselves. We have so much more to see, okay, what we're capable of doing from our own body or brain. So this is what Brighter Minds help you to know what is your potential. If you see a lot of students these days, they're getting so stressed out for examination, fear, anxiety, everything is developing. And through these brain training exercises, it helps you to calm down. It helps you to understand situations, to be more intuitive, empathetic. So it's very important for children or for everybody in general to have this kind of feeling to understand what's going on around and to be calm enough. So Brighter Minds will help. It generates a good intelligence quotient, self-confidence, happiness, and overall development of the child. Well, that's it from Brighter Minds. I'm looking forward for your questions, and if there's anything, I would love to answer all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nandini ma'am. That was a great presentation. And I, for one, have seen these kids who know about Brighter Minds and have gone through the training, and it's magical and something different. And all of you who have the questions for Nandini ma'am and the research team who has also joined us today, please keep them with you, and you can post them in the chat box along with the name of, you can tag them to Nandini ma'am. Okay. So our next paper is Heart-Brain Interface for the Holistic Development of Students, a Heartfulness Approach. This is written by Mridula Kolale, P. Venkateshwar Rao, Ankur T. Gehlot, and Rajeshwari Hegde. It will be presented by Ms. Mridula Kolale. Ms. Mridula Kolale, P. Venkateshwara Rao, and Ankur T. Gehlot are from Sahaj Marg Spirituality Foundation, Heartfulness Research Center, which is recognized by University of Mysore, and Rajeshwari Hegde is from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. Mridula ma'am will be presenting the paper today. Ma'am, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Respected panel members, all the educationists, and all the attendees, a very good evening to one and all. Let me share my screen. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, I'll just share my screen. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so good evening once again. I, Ms. Mridula, welcome you all for the presentation of our paper titled Heart-Brain Interface for the Holistic Development of Students, a Heartfulness Approach. Our paper discusses the science behind heart-brain connection and the significance of nurturing this connection at an early age so as to excel in academics and for overall development of the students, and thereby enable them to emerge as balanced and harmonious members of the society. Now, in support to this, we will also see what is heart rate variability and heart's intelligence. Heartfulness practices as a way to harness this heart-brain bonding, and it will be concluded by conclusion. The human heart is much more than just a physiological organ. It is recognized as a storehouse of intelligence and profound wisdom, and all our ancient cultures have also given paramount importance to this intelligence of heart within the human system. Lord Chesterfield went to write, the heart has such an influence over our understanding that it is worthwhile to engage it in our interest. Our heart has, the neuroscientists have proved that they have discovered that our heart has its own independent nervous system, which is called as heart brain. This figure is showing different neurological communication pathways between the heart and the brain. The heart contains at least 40,000 neurons, as many as present in the different subcortical centers of our brain in the cranium. We can see that the heart is connected to three main areas of the brain: the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, also called frontal lobes, and cerebral cortex, through afferent neural pathways and vagus nerve. Now, this amygdala is responsible for fear and stress response, whereas prefrontal cortex and cerebral cortex, both these are associated with our decision making, thinking ability, cognitive functionality, emotional responses. So this way our heart communicates with our brain in a fashion of neurological communication. We can say that there is a dynamic ongoing two-way dialogue continuously taking place between our heart and our brain in the cranium. Now, in addition to this, there is volume of communication taking place between the heart and brain and heart and other bodily organs through hormones and neurotransmitters, which is biochemical communication, through blood pressure waves, it is called biophysical communication, and through electromagnetic field interactions, it is called energetic communication. And all these communications have a significant influence on the functioning of all our organs. Now, we won't go into the details of all other types of communications, and we will move to what is related to this neurological communication only. And in that respect, we will see what is heart rate variability. Now, heart rate variability is the most dynamic measure that reflects an individual's emotional state of mind, current stress level, and cognitive functionality. We can say that it is the indication of how harmonious is the bonding between our brain and our heart. So it is taken as a mark of psychological resiliency and behavioral adaptability. See this diagram, it is shown heart rate against time. And these bullets indicate the timing of the heartbeat. It is interesting to know that the time interval between consecutive heartbeats keeps on varying. Of course, it is in milliseconds, but it is variable. Till recently, a steady heart rate was considered a sign of good health. But now, through HRV analysis, we now know that there is a naturally occurring variability in our heart rate, a rhythm, particular rhythm. And in fact, the loss of this variability is a sign of concern. It is a sign of concern. Maybe there is some problem with some organ or something. Now, this next diagram makes it more clear. Here also it is heart rate against time. We can see that the heart related emotions or positive emotions of love, care, appreciation, they generate a coherent synchronized heart rhythm pattern. Whereas our emotional reactions such as anger, anxiety, irritation, the heart rhythm becomes incoherent. It is sort of jagged, and it sort of triggers a cascade of events like our blood vessels constrict, our blood pressure rises, and a lot of energy is wasted with these negative emotions. This reminds me of some theory which I had read few days back. It says that we all are connected through our heart. We all are one. And I think maybe that is the reason why when I exhibit positive heart qualities towards others, it is actually I am being loving to myself, to my own heart. Whereas when I am unkind to others, it is as if I am ill-treating my own self. So this is the importance of these patterns of heart rhythms. Thus, high heart coherence means the synchronized heart rhythms, they ensure efficient functioning of all bodily systems such as cardiovascular, immune system, hormone system, to name a few. It decreases our stress and anxiety. It increases cognitive capabilities, thus improving our academic performance, very important for our students also. It increases the alpha brainwave rhythm, a key brainwave state that produces a state of relaxed alert awareness. So higher heart coherence is achieved by evoking our heart's intelligence. Now all these terms which I am saying, the heart coherence, heart's intelligence, higher values of heart rate variability, all these indicate the same thing, good harmonious bond between our heart and our brain. When we have this good bonding, then in that case, when we have our awareness expands beyond the what we can say linear and logical operating mode of our brain, and we enter into the realm of higher intelligence and intuition, and our perspective becomes more clear, flexible, creative, and comprehensive, which among all of us would be would prove most beneficial to our students. Now let us see what are the factors that go in cultivating heart's intelligence. Naturally, the very first thing is we have to acknowledge the power of our heart's intelligence that embraces and fosters both the mental and emotional intelligence. Nowadays, there is much talk about emotional intelligence. They say that to become successful in life, emotional intelligence is of more importance. Then next thing I would say that to develop our heart's intelligence is, now this is based on the research carried out at Heart Math Institute. They have concluded that our intelligence and intuition are heightened when we learn to listen more deeply to our heart. Even we can experiment or experience this. as we start paying more attention to the signals of our heart, these signals or these messages from the heart become more and more clear and audible to us. These studies have also found that when the subjects focus in the heart area with a core heart feeling, when they by focusing in the heart area, they activate heart feeling of love, there is immediate shift in their heart rhythms, making them more coherent. And a sort of cascade of events again starts, both neural and biochemical events, and it virtually affects every bodily organ down to the cell level. So that is much is the importance of activating this core heart emotions. The next factor which goes in this is developing the awareness that positive thoughts and feelings add energy to our system, whereas negative feelings literally they deplete our store of energy. Now here again I would say from my own experience that we can experiment, and I have done this experiment and found very successful, and it has encouraged me to be more positive with more good feelings. We can experiment that for some day. Just decide that I won't be judgmental, or I will be forgiving, and carry a subtle feeling of kindness in the heart towards everyone. We will just feel magical feelings. And apart from this immediate benefit of feeling good, there is long-term benefit to all the organs. Just now we saw how it affects our heart feelings, affect all the bodily systems. So this awareness is also very importance of very importance. Now next and the last but very important is regulation of mind. Now one more thing I would like to add is there are some researchers, they tried to study the link between heart and brain, and they found that the heart focused meditations, they can actually support elevating the key brainwave states. Just now Nandini mentioned the key brainwave states which are relaxing, of much higher alertness, like alpha, theta and gamma. I feel that world's most meditation traditions must have known this intuitively, and therefore great deal of their meditation practice centers around generating these emotions of love and compassion. And I would like to mention one such system, a simple and efficient system of heartfulness. I won't go into the details of this heartfulness meditation system, which already many presenters have given the overview. But from my own experience, I would like to share that it has the potential to nurture this heart brain connection, good bonding between this, thus developing our heart's intelligence. It helps generating heart center positive emotions. Here, I feel an urgent need in my heart that we must teach our younger generation. Rather, we should show by actually practicing these values of the heart, so that it is ingrained in their minds, it is inculcated in them, and this would prove a strong foundation. This would it will go a long way to build a strong foundation towards building more harmonious, prosperous, and healthier society, or we can say civilization tomorrow. So this practice, I have found it to be very effective It brings about regulation of mind and brings the mind we can say head or brain also, mind here, and it brings the mind in sync with the heart. And then over the period of time, we find that there is no fight between our heart and mind. They are in tune with each other. It advocates living a heart-centered life. Here, one more technique I would like to mention. I think it is not mentioned earlier, and I find it very effective. It's a centering technique, and I have found that it's very effective in bringing about in the moment shift in our perspective and attitude. And we can practice it even in the midst of our work. Sometimes we feel very exhausted or stressed out, or just before writing the exams also we can try this. Take a pause, close the eyes, and gently bring our attention with great love to our heart. Trying to forget everything for a few minutes only, and remain there for some time with the calm and loving feeling. And after a few minutes, gently come out. I myself have found an immediate shift in my perspective by this. So everyone can, I think, can try this and see for themselves. Now for our younger generation, of course, it was for everyone, for younger generation too, which benefits we saw. But broadly, the studies which are going on, the researches which are going on, they show that it is extremely beneficial if we cultivate the habit of self-regulation of emotions and mind at an early age. And that's why maybe academicians advise to integrate meditation practices in the curriculum. There are tremendous benefits. To name the few, the research has shown that students who meditate regularly perform better in academics, they can handle related stress efficiently, they have a positive outlook towards life, positive mindset, with higher levels of emotional intelligence, their self-confidence and self-esteem, they'll show increased self-confidence, self-esteem for themselves, and overall well-being, both mental as well as physical. So I would like to conclude this short presentation with the hope that we as the educationists align ourselves and our students. We understand this need of aligning ourselves and our students with the core values of the heart, which are core values, positive emotions, qualities which are long associated with the heart. As the science continues to discover the benefits, I think it offers tremendous hope that the society can shift from its current state of disorder and chaos to a new hopeful era of harmonious and quality living for all. Thank you. These are some of the references which we have used in our paper. I, along with my co-authors, would like to also express our heartfelt thanks to Heartfulness Education Trust and our guides, Dr. Rajeshwari and Dr. Hegde, for their support and encouragement. So thank you all for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that heartful presentation. Thank you for sharing the facts and also adding your own personal experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Audience can post their questions in the chat box. The next paper is The Changing Education System During COVID-19 Pandemic by Ms. Neeru Malik, Dr. Bindu Seni, and Mrs. Padmavati Banda. Ms. Neeru Malik is the innovative lab in charge of S.B. Patil Public School, Pune. Dr. Bindu Seni is the principal of S.B. Patil Public School, Pune, and Mrs. Padmavati Banda is the coordinator of S.B. Patil Public School, Pune. The paper will be presented by Ms. Neeru. I welcome you, Ms. Neeru. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Shalpa ma'am. Very first of all, good evening to all of you. Myself, Neeru Malik, is here before you to present the changing education system during COVID-19 pandemic. So, first of all, I will start with some very basics on the global COVID-19 pandemic details, that how it is affecting our whole world, and later on I will show that how it is affecting our education system, especially schools and universities. So starting with some basics, first of all, I would like to show that how COVID-19 pandemic is affecting our whole world. The timing, spread, intensity, etc. of the pandemic vary a lot among different countries. Impact is even very uneven. Post-pandemic recovery will also be very uneven. Precise impact of the confinement policies still nuclear, but early adopters seem to enjoy some benefits also. Some late adopters, like some countries like US, UK, etc., seem to be suffering. Others, Sweden, Netherlands, are still to be seen. Statistics only partially reliable and not very comparable. Next, this is a very basic graph of the effects of this pandemic, that how in Italy and Spain's daily death tolls are falling. In the UK and US, daily deaths may be plateauing also. So now some worrisome signs are there, add to some uncertainties also. That is, a second wave and a third wave of infections are to be expected very soon. New mutations might increase the infectiousness and mortality of the virus also. Immunity after infections seems to be limited, means people are reported with the second infection also. Then, now that some positive views regarding this is your very rapid progress on development of drugs and vaccinations. Daily we can see in our news channels that how the scientists are working so wholeheartedly and daily to develop the vaccine.
I think ma'am is experiencing some technical difficulties. Let's wait for her to join for 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can proceed.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Are you back?
Uh,
Okay, let's move on to the next presentation. And once ma'am will join us, we can continue with the presentation. The next presentation is Creating Future Ready Schools for Holistic Development by Anjali Google ma'am. Ms. Anjali Google is a social science teacher, British Council ISA coordinator at SP Patil Public School, Pune. Ma'am, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Apala ma'am. First of all, I would like to extend my heartful gratitude to all the panelists, to Heartfulness for giving me this opportunity to present my paper on creating future-ready schools for holistic development. Let me begin by sharing my screen. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today's my paper focuses on the theme of creating future-ready schools for holistic development, and I would like to, and it is for the values today, civilizations tomorrow, organized by Heartfulness. Um, I would start by quoting Abraham Lincoln, who was the 16th president of United States. He said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So now when we're talking about creating future-ready schools, we need to, thinking or deciding about what we need to do. It's better to start with the work of creating it. And the most important things that comes to our mind when we're thinking about the future-ready schools is the educational policy. Recently, the National Education Policy of India has also been published. It has, it has been in the news, and the government has already, it is one of the most important agendas for the government this time, and they have recently shared it, and we all know how important it is. Apart from that, as per the Planning Commission of India, which is the 13th Planning Commission of India, and the last 5-year plan India is having, education is one of the most important agendas, and they had this plan that by the year 2020 they have to implement a new education policy which is more reformed and which applies to the new needs of the new needs of the 21st century, which matches with the requirements for the both teaching and learning needs of the 21st century. So the topics, the subtopics for today's discussion for my paper are: first is I will be discussing what is educational policy. I will be discussing the purpose of creating future-ready schools, creating a new educational policy, keeping in mind today's needs of technological advancements, today's fast-paced world. Also, we will be discussing the challenges in the policy making for holistic development and future-ready schools. Then I will be mainly focusing on the role of soft skill, developing the soft skills and the life skills among the learners for preparing them for the future as global citizens. And then finally, I will be discussing about the new paradigms and strategies for a heart-brain connect, which is very much vital for today's generation. To begin with, I would like to start with the discussion on what is education policy. So education policy is a set of laws which is based on values and principles that are agreed upon by the people and government of a country in educational sphere. Just like the constitution of any country is based on the values and principles of the people of that country, similarly, our education policy has an influence of the society and the culture that society has, the environmental changes that occur in that country. For example, right now we are going through the COVID pandemic, and because of that, suddenly we had to go through this drastic, bringing about these drastic changes in the way we are conducting these online classes to continue with our educating our children, then that has a great impact on the needs of the teaching and learning in the fast changing world at a global scale. Thus, for creating future-ready schools, it is imperative to understand the social, cultural, and environmental development of present times that influence the policy making with the changing times. Based on my empirical research, this paper deals with the identified changes in the policy making, ensuring holistic development of the learners, which play a key role in devising new teaching learning practices to deal with the challenges of today's fast-paced and technologically advanced world. So now I will move on to the second subtopic, that is, what is the purpose of creating? Why do we need to create future ready schools? What is the requirement? Why do we need schools which are future ready, which are on a global scale? The reason is that now is the age when technology is replacing technology. Education is high on the agenda of governments across the world, just like it is in the case of our country also. As we have just now, we have started, the government has issued the new educational policy. Apart from that, global pressures, economic, social, and cultural also focus their increasing attention on the outcomes of education policy and on their implications for economic prosperity and social citizenship. The experience of each individual learner is therefore decisively shaped by the wider policy environment. Thus, education policy does create a key role in shaping the future of the children of the school of the country. Thus, the changing needs of teaching learning is something which we are looking at when we're talking about future ready schools to cater to the present day needs of teachers and learners in the fast changing world. Apart from that, I would like to quote the United Nations Global Citizenship Education Framework, according to which it encompasses the essentials of the educational policies that can develop required knowledge, skills, and values to prepare learners and society for the demands of the modern world.
Hello, ma'am, can you hear us? Let's see if Anjali ma'am can join us back. Anjali ma'am?
Actually, Apala ma'am, it's a very bad weather nearby our houses. That's
Oh,
why I think the Anjali ma'am also logged out.
oh, is it? So,
Yeah, there are some technical issues in our area right now in Pune. The weather is not clear and I think the signals are not proper.
oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's not a problem. Can we start with your presentation, Neeru ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, sure. And a very sorry, panelists and all my attendees, that I have, due to some technical issues, presentation is somewhat left in between, but I would like to start it again. Thank you, Pala ma'am, for giving me the opportunity again.
Thank you.
I have left only. That is, I was discussing some positive views in the need of the confirmation. That is, some positive views are there that very rapid progress on development of drugs and vaccine is going day by day. And because of the underreported cases, infection fatality ratio could actually be made much lower than the assumed 1 to 2%. According to the recent study, even as low as 1 in 270. Calculating surplus deaths leads to the different evaluations. Now, some health policy responses are there that after initial confusion and contrasting policy options, that is the isolation, testing, confinement, herd immunity, now emerging consensus on best policy mix are there. Diverging policy options in early stages now determine the ratio of the infection, hospitalization, and the death toll. Large-scale testing seems to be hardest bottleneck, but will be solved very soon with new, cheaper, reliable tests. Policy coordination both within and between countries is very weak. Now I will discuss some exit strategies from this pandemic That is, many countries are working on various exit scenarios, but these prove to be more difficult than introducing measures. Capacity of the healthcare system to absorb and treat patients with severe systems is critical factor. Difficult political discussion on the economic cost of the surplus deaths as part of balancing economy and health. Exit will definitely be step by step, extending over a long time span following an according type pattern. Now we'll be discussing the effect on the economy. As we all know, it's affecting our economy enormously. Impact of COVID-19 and containment measures on the economic output will be enormous, bigger than the 2008 financial crisis even. Estimates of GDP loss around 2% per month of the containment. Real risk of global recession is here right now. Service sector is severely hit. Unemployment impact still difficult to assess. How fast will economy catch up? Nobody knows. It's just data that I have taken. The economic impact is enormous for different countries all around the world. Now we'll share some social, personal, and well-being also. That huge negative impact on equity is there. Both crisis, policy measures, and consequences amplify inequalities. Confinement, very hard for the families living in poverty, poor housing conditions, bad health, and other vulnerabilities. Psychological impact on the individuals still unknown, but probably severe mental health impact is there. Stress in households, increase in the child abuse and intra-family violence. Now, the basic, that is the thought of this conference also, that how it is impacting our universities and schools, education system. Then, first of all, I would like to tell that is the immediate disruption in education. Approximately, if I take an estimate, around 20,000 HEIs closed down, affecting learning opportunities of around 2 students worldwide. Impressive switch distance learning, online learning, e-learning, and mixed modules education delivery is there. Very negative impact on equity that disadvantaged students particularly hit because of this. Disruption in assessments and end of year examinations disrupt study progression, graduation, learning strategies, etc. Means the disruption is assessments. Right now, we are all having the online examination in our schools as well as universities, but we all know they are just a sort of open book test for the students. So this is the basic disadvantage in the disruption in assessments also. Increased flexibility as a part of institutional responses. Now I will discuss with the financial impact of our pandemic. As stream of international students in our schools as well as our universities is drying up, institutions dependent on fee-paying students will suffer a lot, very much suffering there. Mainly UK, Australia, New Zealand, so many countries are suffering just because of these fee-paying students are reducing day by day. But also impact on European countries like England, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, France is very large. Indirect impact because of the fiscal crisis is also there. US public universities immediately closed. Many other countries when recession will unfold also. Compensation by the stimulus packages is still unclear. Now, as all of our working as in the school and colleges, the very negative impact on the staff, we can also see that immediate measures taken by universities in laying off the staff on temporary contracts, due to which often young promising research staff is affected very badly. This investigating in young researchers will have severe impact on long-term research potential by cutting off their talent pipeline. Now, what is the impact on the students? Overall student enrollment will increase. That is, like in any crisis, students are postponing graduation just to avoid entering a labor market in the crisis. Many students will not be able to even finalize important parts of the curriculum, that is field research, internships, etc., needed for the graduation purpose also. Enrollment in universities is a better option than being unemployed, a very big thing. That is, enrollment in universities or in schools is a better option than being unemployed. Higher education students are perceived to be high-risk contaminators. In many European countries, looming prospects of threatening or declining public funding with increased enrollment also. If I discuss about the international students, the huge drop in Chinese student enrollment is there. Asian students look to regional opportunities in countries like Korea, Malaysia, Singapore instead of US, UK or European countries. As because of just the restrictions on travel, immigration, visa, etc., will remain in place for a long time, cutting students' mobility also. Admission procedures seriously disrupted. Also, intra-European mobility will be affected. Last but not least, teaching and learning process is also affected. That is, capacity of many institutions to replace face-to-face delivery by various models of distance education should be praised. Yet, many mistakes made need for the comprehensive evaluation of the real-world experiments. That is, need to consider the long-term integration of e-learning in multimodal delivery, as the old normal is not going to come back very soon. Still, lot of work to be done in assessment, evaluation, study career and guidance, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a very informative video. I think you covered all the aspects, both globally and nationally. Thank you so much. And some very good suggestions. Thank you so much. And
Thank
now
you.
we have with us, thank you so much. And now we have with us Miss Anjali Google, and she will present her paper now.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll start from the beginning again, and I will just keep it short. I mean, the beginning part, which I've already explained, and then I'll move on from the slide where we left off. And thank you, and let me begin. I'm
Thank you
just
so
keeping
much,
my
ma'am.
camera off just in case if there should be no connectivity issue. So I'm
Thank you.
sharing my screen now. Is visible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I started with a quote by the 16th president of United States. The best way to predict your future is to create it. And we talked, and my paper, the theme of my paper revolves around mainly the educational policy, which is the most important thing for creating future ready schools. We have already introduced the NEP 2020. The Indian government has already done it, and we've already discussed the purpose of creating future ready schools as per the requirements of today's time, and the young people, the young generation, with a fast-paced world, and to face the challenges of the world today. We need to create future ready schools wherein we have all the required elements which are most important for for the holistic development of today's children. Directly come onto the my screen on the purpose of creating schools is to create is to cater to the demands of a future ready society for a progressive peaceful world with mutual harmony and respect for all races, religions and communities. Now, what is the process of creating a new educational policy? There is a lot of thinking and planning, which is in which the people are involved. And after this planning is done, it is approved by the government, and then it leads to the drafting of the new educational policy, and the implementation of that policy is done after that. As per the Planning Commission of India, 2020 is the year when the new education policy was to be implemented, and education has been high on the agenda of governments across the world. Apart from that, global pressures, both economic and cultural, focus their increasing attention on the outcomes of education policy and on their implications for economic prosperity and social citizenship. So we can see there's a wholesome approach. Like when we look at this picture on creating the education policy, it has an influence of the society, culture, and environment of that particular country, which has an impact on the needs of the teaching and learning in the fast-paced, changing world at a global scale. So now, when we talk about the creating new educational policy, the main elements that are there, which are most important for the new education policy, is there should be a transition, not only a transition, but apart from that, there should be a merging of traditional and new practices of teaching and learning. Yesterday, when Disha ma'am was presenting her paper, she talked about the Gurukul system that was there in India, and now is the time when we have the technology taking over. So it is the right time to merge both the traditional and new practices in teaching and learning to have a holistic development of children. Wherein, just like in the old times when we had classrooms wherein children were just learning from the blackboard and the teacher in teaching them in the classroom. So it was just the class was just confined into the four walls of the classroom. But now it has a more holistic approach, wherein we are having more activities and subject enrichment activities are being included for a better learning outcome. Apart from that, another important element to the new education policy is the integration of the ICT. So ICT, as we can see here, one of the most important sub-element of the ICT is ubiquitous education. Ubiquitous means that it is not specifically for a place or a city or a state or a country, but it applies to the whole world, wherein children are learning mutually from each other when we are having global interactions and collaborations with the help of technology and internet. Empowerment in learning, as when the mutual interactions are happening, children start respecting, learning from each other's cultures. They learn from the other methods of teaching and learning. Even teachers learn. So that led to the empowerment of both teachers and learners. It also allows effective collaboration and better learning outcomes. It allows for effective networking. When we have ICT, better interconnectivity is there, better learning outcomes are there. Also, ICT allows easy sharing of resources. We can easily share our thoughts. We can learn from each other. Apart from that, it leads to effective accessibility to resources. And we have the internet. We have overwhelming information on the net. We can take help from so many resources that are easily available on the net. So this is one of the most important element that needs to be inculcated in the new education policy when we're keeping in mind the futuristic schools. Another important element in the new education policy for future ready schools is online education, international collaborations among schools and universities. We have platforms like the International School Awards. Nowadays we have various platforms wherein schools from all across the globe are interacting with each other. They are sharing their teaching learning practices. Children are interacting with each other and learning from each other. They're learning about the cultures, religions, and about the past, the history and culture of various places in live classrooms with the help of technology. We have something known as MOOC platform, which is known as the Massive Online Open Course, wherein children learn by not only at the school level, but at the college and university level. There are online courses available for people. So this is another thing that has come up with the with a new age, and which needs to be implemented in the new education policy and bring a reform in the new education policy for future ready schools. Now I will come to the challenges that are there in policy making for holistic development. So when we talk about the challenges, so one thing that comes to our mind is the politics. Considerable controversies and public contestations are there when we think of devising a new policy. As we can see, Prime Minister Modi has just now organized a discussion with the school teachers of entire country to have a feedback, to have a discussion, to know better ideas, so how we can implement the NEP in a better way. Apart from that, ICT training is one of the greatest challenges for when we talk about India as a country, because with the advent of technology, the teachers which are being trained right now, they need better training on ICT tools so that they can make their classroom more technology savvy and better teaching learning happening in the classrooms, which has more number of activities, more child centric, and more activity can be done. Then apart from that, if we talk about the grassroots level, when we talk about schools at the village levels and the remote areas, the problem is the infrastructure. India has this problem wherein we have in remote areas, we don't have electricity supply. So if that is not there, the basic necessity, the basic things are not there, then it is very difficult to have computer booths or gadgets or internet in such schools and provide such. We need to provide these kind of facilities in these areas so that the children can access these kind of resources for their holistic development. This is one of the biggest challenge that the Indian government has right now in for the with the NEP for holistic development of children. Apart from that, we have overwhelming information sometimes because of lot of connectivity, and that leads to misleading information. So these are some of the challenges we all know with the use of internet and with the overwhelming information. When we talk about the new education policy, we will realize that the role of soft skills in developing the life skills is something which is in today, which is very much important. Children, and at the especially at the university and college level, they are having special classes on building better communication skills. Teamwork is something which is very important, problem solving, interpersonal skills, leadership skills. Now what, how about if we have in our NEP right from the early childhood years, when we start with developing these kind of skills, apart from when we start giving them a holistic development of apart from their academics, they have the soft skills that will lead them to become when they grow up, they will have life skills when they will be easily be able to face the challenges of the future. For example, they will know how to do things. They will do better time management. They will have more self efficacy, wherein they will be more responsible about themselves and people around them, more empathetic, more patient, more kind, and respecting. Mutual respect and harmony will naturally develop. So when we're talking about the vitals of good education, so the soft skills and life skills play a key role in developing future ready schools. Now, when we talk about the new paradigms and strategies for heart brain connect, the main thing that comes to our mind is something which is new, is meditation, which is as we can see, Heartfulness is already implementing, and they have their own system wherein they are trying to implement this in schools, also having a curriculum wherein children learn to meditate right from early childhood years. So, developing self-efficacy among learners by promoting meditation in schools and colleges for learners is something new, which is going to help the children becoming better citizens, who have self-efficacy, who are responsible, and who can handle the challenges in a much better way compared to the old times. According to the Vedic science, the true purpose of meditation is to connect oneself to one's deeper inner self. Techniques which achieve that goal serve the true purpose of meditation. So as we can see, the Heartfulness has started with this curriculum to right from the early years of education, when children they start learning these techniques of meditation. wherein their skills like focusing and concentration, they become more calm and centered. As just now, Mridula ma'am has mentioned in her presentation that better academic results are there. Children are calm, patient. They are self responsible for things around them, and they become more responsible. They are easily able to manage the stress, and overall, a holistic development of children can be done if we implement meditation as a new method in the new education policy also. So that's it for me. Thank you, panelists, and thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to give this presentation. Thank you, Apala ma'am.
Thank you, Anjali ma'am. That was a great presentation. I can see the comments, they are all appreciating it. Thank you so much. And I thank all the paper presentators today. And the presentations were very informative, and I'm sure everyone who has joined has gained a lot from them. So now we move to a Menti questions. So people who have joined us online can answer these questions through the Menti app, or you can go to your Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, whatever you have in the browser that you have, and enter the link www.menti.com and enter the code which is there on the screen, which is 8914950. And the question is, what importance should be given to life skills as a subject for a student's holistic development? So I see a lot, it's 100% till now. It should be amongst the core subjects. Core subjects, majority 90% we have. They are saying it should be amongst the core subject. We have few who are saying it should be added as an extracurricular subject. Great, we see more and more people. Core subject, I see people in chat also saying that it should be a core subject. Many audience members are saying that it should be extracurricular also. Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. It should be among the core subject. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for your responses. And now we'll move towards the panel discussion. And I would like to quote here, they say, Sa Vidya Ya Vibhuktaye. It is the knowledge which enlightens us and education which liberates us. So for our panel discussion, we have with us Dr. Ranjani Iyer. Dr. Ranjani Iyer is the director of Heartfulness Program for Schools, HPS, Heartfulness Institute, USA. She has a doctorate degree in education, specializing in curriculum and instruction. She also has a master's in mathematics and loves interweaving heartfulness in her math classroom. She has also published articles in international journals in the field of education and has several years of experience working with children and adults. Dr. Ranjani has been involved in partnering with school communities in the US and enabling its members to build a more relaxed, compassionate, and positive environment using heartfulness tools and techniques. Dr. Ranjani started her own meditation practice in high school and is a certified trainer in meditation. She's a mother of three teens and enjoys spending time with her teens, collaborating on research and mental wellness projects. I heartfully welcome you, ma'am, for the session. We also have with us Mr. Vipul Reddy at Khan Academy. Mr. Vipul helps school make the most of their online learning resources in classrooms. He is an alumni of Stanford University Graduate School of Education. He has worked for Cisco, managing a large part of their multi-million dollar IT training and professional certifications portfolio as a CXO at Global Discovery Schools and Director of Academics at Pearson Schools India. He designed the daily classroom experience of thousands of students nationally. He is a TEDed innovative educator and advisor to the School on Barefoot College campus and also a TEDx speaker. I heartily welcome you, sir, for this session. As part of our esteemed panel, we also have with us Dr. Anjali Gurjar. Dr. Anjali is the founder principal of Pawar Public School, Nanded City, for both the CBSE and the ICSE branch. She has a PhD from Mumbai University in microbiology, along with the MSc and B.Ed. She has been in the field of teaching for 18 years, which includes university teaching and school level teaching. She also has a corporate experience for 12 years, working in food and pharmaceutical manufacturing and quality assurance. Dr. Anjali has brought into school the discipline and planning from the world of industry. She believes in imparting holistic education with emphasis on character building, values, knowledge, and appreciation for our very own Indian culture, with simultaneous exposure to global aspects as well. She believes in inclusivity for teachers and students and society in general. Dr. Anjali has received accolades both at local and national level, including Leader of the Year Award, IIHM Principals Award, Pune Municipal Corporation Award, and Principals Award from Economic Council, New Delhi. Pawar Public School, Nanded City, has taken up Heartfulness meditation program for both teachers and students. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. I heartfully welcome you to the session. So let's start the panel discussion. My first question is to you, Vipul sir. Sir, what do you think is a future-ready school? How can we achieve it? And what changes are needed in the current system? Mr. Vipul, can you hear us?
I don't see Mr. Vipul.
Oh. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Ma'am, Ranjini ma'am, hello. And my next question is to you. A school can be seen as a microcosm of society. How can we prepare our students now such that they become more inclusive, compassionate citizens? And how do we teach them to respect differences in their peers, be it be it difference in learning abilities, gender, background, or anything else?
Good evening, Apala. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me for this conference. It's been amazing to view and listen to various different presenters on values today and civilization tomorrow. So I want to start off by thinking about what are future-ready schools, right? We have been listening to various different presenters talking about soft skills, I definitely believe that few of the components that make a future-ready schools would be personalized instructions for our students to be able to develop a professional learning environment, robust engagement, talking about partnership, communities together, collaborating together, and having leadership skills. So these are few of the components that many schools look at, right? So schools also have a great opportunity to cultivate the compassionate side of every student by creating a culture of compassion, positivity, where they also understand, values such as kindness, empathy, collaboration. All of those things are valued and practiced. So the learning environment should provide for not only academic growth, but also it should promote and build positivity, build empathy, strengthen our whole school community. So in my paper, I had briefly spoken about the 4 C's, which are so important and critical for our students of the future. The 4 C's being communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. All of these 4 C's need to be developed in them, built in them, so that it lays a foundation for a successful future, right? With students entering our classrooms with increasing diversity, with different backgrounds, with various different learning profiles, the ongoing work, of building an inclusive space, a space where, all of these children cultivate social emotional skills, ethical skills, so that they could lead a meaningful and successful life. It is the call for the future, right? And recognizing that students need more academic rigor and test preparation to succeed. A lot of different schools are turning to social emotional learning building as well, right? More recently, there has been a wave of interest in social emotional learning. And these programs tend to cover 5 core competencies. So it starts with self awareness, and then it builds into self management, which extends to social awareness, and then it builds to relationship skills and responsible decision making skills. So I would like to share a couple of slides on what Heartfulness Program for Schools does in this area, and how does Heartfulness Program for Schools cater to these social emotional learning. So give me a second. I just want to share this slide.
Sure.
So as I'm trying to share the slide, I just want to again emphasize on the fact that the schools of today are, looking at various different things. They're looking at how do I build up these social emotional skills. Can you see my? Give me 1 second. Let me enter the full screen. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So the Heartfulness program that we have for today's schools, it builds on all of these social emotional skills. And there are several tools that we use currently to build those skills. We have relaxation and meditation, which helps the students become more self-aware and manage their own self as well. We have something which we look into their breathing. We call it breathing with awareness and purpose. Then we have heartful affirmations, which fosters positivity. And also, we do journaling. We have techniques for unwinding. So, these are the tools that come together for our heartful schools, so to say. And it builds that heart brain connect that we have been looking into, right? And I wanted to expand on this concept a little bit more on how these skills are built in the classrooms. So, I see a lot of schools building on academic intelligence, right? We focus a lot on academic rigor, we focus on their cognitive ability, but I think the foundation and the shift, I'm already seeing it in several schools towards the social emotional learning. And I was mentioning earlier that there are 5 competencies to it. The first one, the self awareness part of it, We build on that through our Heartful schools by doing this technique called breathing. And this not only creates an awareness of our surroundings, but it also helps in having a purpose. So we usually have this exercise where the participants would breathe in what is good for them and would breathe out what is good for everyone. So this fosters a sense of creativity, a positivity around the whole community, right? Then we have journaling, which also develops self awareness. We move and expand that to self management, where not only we are aware of our own self, we also try to manage our emotions, try to face them, try to connect our mind to our heart. And we do that through our relaxation and meditation tool that we have. It helps in regulating our mind, it helps in connecting to the heart. And then we expand a little bit more and we say, now that we are able to manage our own self, we can expand that to social awareness, where we connect with each other. We have heartful affirmations, which develop and foster positivity among each other. It helps us to connect with each other, right? And it gives a sense of belonging and a sense of community, so to say. And then we expand more and talk about relationship skills. And we look at this heart based nurturing environment that we provide. And it fills the environment with compassion, with empathy, with embracing diversity that we have. And finally, we have everything put together and it helps us to become the future citizens, the future productive, effective citizens that we all are looking forward to through the guidance of the technique called rejuvenation, which helps in unwinding, decluttering, so to say, of the mind and developing this clarity in both thoughts and in action. So I just wanted to share these things with you all. We are currently doing a lot of research with students who are practicing these tools in the schools. And I would love to share that when we get some time as well. So thank you so much for letting me answer this question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the great inputs. And I'm sure not just students, teachers can also take these into their life and, build it up. And I see now Mr. Vipul is back with us again. Hello, Vipul, sir.
How are you? Apologies
I'm
for the falling
No,
off.
no, that's okay. So, sir, I would like to ask my question again. And the question is that what do you think is a future ready school? How can we achieve it? And what changes are needed in the current system?
So actually, the slide that I just saw right now, I think was a really interesting, I guess, view into where we should be going. If you look at the past, right? Like, I mean, what was a school meant for? It was basically meant to be a place where you learned, first and foremost, a bunch of, you basically gathered a knowledge base that allowed you to, at some point in time, become an emotionally participating person an economically participating person in the environment that you're in. So basically, when you're talking about for a child, you would expect that they would gather, the knowledge that is a prerequisite for them to um, be able to participate and offer value in an economy, and therefore be able to, make a living for themselves. Along the side, there was also obviously some byproducts, and more often than not, this has always been seen as a byproduct of, other things, that other life skills that they would learn, potentially including, all the things that you again saw on the previous slide, being able to manage yourself, being able to sort of have people skills, being able to be a fruitful part of a larger society. These were things that were assumed to be things that you kind of imbibed over the span of your formal education. There wasn't any, unlike your, say, your mastery of mathematics, there was no sort of finish line or goals that were set for you along the way. Now, if you basically look at where we are headed as a society, we are headed into a place where you are likely to have machines taking over a large part of what humans do today. And in that environment where you aren't expected necessarily to really master content, just raw content, so that you could basically be, an economically viable entity, because machines could do that a lot better than you, a lot more accurately than you, with a lot higher quality than you ever could. In that environment, what would be sort of the goal of a formal education is always something that I've thought about. And it's, to be candid with you, I mean, I work with a lot of schools. It isn't a conversation that happens today. It isn't basically something that we talk about today. But in the environment that we are in right now, on this particular platform, with these particular people on this call, I think it's an appropriate thing to bring up, where we talk about the fact that at some point in time where you aren't learning to make a living, what are you learning for? What is it that basically is going to be the goal, the summum bonum of your years in formal education? How many years is that? When should you start? We've always said you should start when you're around six years old, go for about 12 years in school, go on for about 4 years of higher education or 3 years of higher education, and then if there's some kind of specialization that's required, so be it. That is what it takes to be an economically viable entity. But if economical viableness is not your goal any longer, then what is it that it takes to make you what you need to be? And again, I'm going to go back to the slide that you just now saw. I thought this was a pretty remarkable set of things that I would say would be definitely worth aspiring for in a future world. I see that, I've been to the Heartfulness School, the Heartfulness Institute School, and I see that in many, ways, shapes, and forms, this is something that is being used over there. So if you were to ask me what a school of the future looks like, I think, that is a glimpse of where you could start. Having said that, I think it's just a start. I think there's a lot more that we could do there. There's a lot more that we could basically explore in terms of um, just the faculties that need to be developed and aren't being developed by formal education today. Partly because, again, there isn't just a body of knowledge that exists, not just in education in general, that would point us to what we need to build over here. So, which is a fancy way of saying, I don't even know what we need to do, but I do plan to meditate on it.
Sure. And thank you for those great inputs. And as you said, we have made a start, but obviously there is more to be done here. Thank you again, Vipul sir. And my next question is to Anjali ma'am. Ma'am, NEP says,
Yes, I'm here.
hello ma'am. Ma'am, NEP says that children will be given a logical framework to discriminate between ethical and unethical decisions. How do we empower kids to make these choices? And do you think such a framework is feasible?
Yes, I got the question. Thank you, Heartfulness Organization and Apala ma'am for this wonderful virtual conference. In fact, it has brought on one screen, not under one roof. All the members, so many of us members associated with the education, imparting education, it has brought together researchers from all over the world. I guess Dr. Ranjani is not from India. She's from outside India. And yesterday I was listening to this to the session there, and there was Terran Daly, who had joined all the way from California, very early morning. It was like almost a dawn for her. So it's
Yes.
already a future ready conference. We are talking about future ready school, so we are already future ready, so we don't have to worry about what lies in store for us. We are already there, I think. And today's papers were very meaningful, especially that nowadays everybody is using the term new world, but the term is also 6 months old now, so it is the current world now. And unexpectedly, this new world has been thrust upon us. And at the same time, we also got the new educational policy thrust upon us by the government of India, NEP 2020. Yes, and the NEP says that children will be given a logical framework for making ethical decisions at a young age. This is spelled out in the NEP Knowledge of India part, where they are recommending showing videos on and documentaries on luminaries and great inspirational figures from India or all over the world. They have also talked about, they have expanded along themes of cheating, violence, plagiarism, intolerance, all these very unethical behavior. And here I have an observation, right from standard one, we see that children start copying in the exams. I don't know if any of the teachers here or any of the dignitaries have noticed it, but why do children start copying during exams in the first standard itself? Don't they understand that this is whether this is ethical or non-ethical or unethical behavior? But it's we who are responsible, especially in our country, with the systems for assessment that we have. Immediately when there's an exam, parents will start being after their children, start studying. And right after the exam, when the results are announced, everybody starts asking, how many marks did you score? And now grandparents are asking on the phone, beta kitne marks mil gaye? So it is we who are responsible for this cheating on the part of our students. And I hope that the new education policy, once it is implemented, it takes us away from this mark system or the rote learning system. And as already pointed out by so many of our experts there is emphasis on high order thinking skills, creativity, collaboration, content. And Ranjini ma'am, you spoke about the C's, so many C's. One more very important C I would like to add is coding, because coding is going to be the in thing for the students. And our students right from standard 3 and 4, I'm seeing nowadays in the schools, they are already taking coding lessons and they are developing their own apps. Okay, coming back to the part about ethics. See, according to the NEP 2020, the government has also announced that there will be a 4 years B.Ed course. So I hope so in that framework of the B.Ed course, there is a very important paper on ethics and values. It is not only for the sake of passing the exam, but that paper will also be a core paper along with the subjects like physics, chemistry, sociology, history, whatever will be included in that B.Ed course. So I hope they do that, so that all the teachers, including our Anganwadi teachers who are there at a very influential age of the pre-primary early years, everybody starts right from whether the school is in a village or whether it is in a city. It just begins, the first day of pre-primary is A for apple or A for anar. So I hope that is not done in the new education policy. And I hope we come up with programs, stories, which emphasize on, manners in the children, developing values, ethics, what is right, what is wrong, how do we make the right choices. All right. I know that there are some reports about schools in Japan where there are no formal exams conducted right up to age 8 or 9, that is up to standard 4. So all they emphasize on is, what is right behavior, what is incorrect behavior, manners, how do you care and respect, not only for your own self and your family members, but also for the public at large. And I would like to come to that part about, the cheating part once again. I know there are some schools, and I tried to implement this in my own school, that you have a conduct an exam without an invigilator. So whether you want to copy in the exam and get 90% marks, or you want to get 70%, you're happy with 70% marks without cheating. All right. So we do these exercises in our schools, and I think many more schools should follow this, just to give the students a first-hand experience of whether you can be ethical or non-ethical even when you are not supervised. All right, here I would like to quote from Swami Vivekananda's work in his writing on the essence of India. I am proud to belong to a country which has taught the world universal acceptance, tolerance, and ethical behavior. So, if we keep, quoting such things from our great leaders of the past, from our luminaries of the past, this is a good framework. This is a good kind of education which we will impart to our students. So yes, the national education policy can give a good framework so that we can develop ethics in our amongst our students. And I have a Sanskrit quote for you: Acharyat padam adate padam shishya swamedhaya padam sabrahmacharimbhya padam kalakramena cha. Just to explain it to you in short, from the teacher is learned a quarter from the student's own intelligence, another quarter from his fellow students, and another quarter with the passage of time. But we cannot say that only 25% is learned from the teachers, whatever the influence a teacher has on the students. There's a 25% from his co-students, and those co-students are again going to be influenced by the teacher. All right, and there's a 25% from the community. And who is the community? The same people who have been taught by the same teachers. So I would say that the new education policy should give a lot of importance to training teachers, how they will pass on not only subject content but also values, ethics, life skills, what is the meaning of integrity, and so many such behavioral aspects to our students. So yes, the NEP I hope the NEP will succeed in imparting, this what is between what is right and what is wrong, what is ethical and what is unethical behavior. So thank you, Apala ma'am, and thank you to all our viewers.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are some great insights. And I really like the idea about the ethical paper that you said we can introduce. I think that will be very helpful for the students and the college students also. Thank you so much. Now, I think we can take some questions from the audience for all the panelists. I'm checking the Q&A. If audience members have any more questions, they can type it in the chat window.
I've already been answering them. I hope it's okay.
Yes, I can see. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I have one question which says, how to cultivate heart intelligence? So if any of the panel members would like to speak about it or tell us how can we cultivate heart intelligence?
I had written a possible answer for that, and I don't want to quote on that, but I've read on Heart Math, which talks about the powerful tools of heart and how we can build on skills using the tools of appreciation, tools of non-judgmental attitude, and tools of forgiveness. I just wanted to add on to that and say that the tools of heartfulness, it helps in expanding all of these things, and it helps in building compassion, it helps in building empathy, it helps in building gratitude, and all of this with a sense of love and joy. And that's what I feel. I've been working with heartfulness programs in schools for the past several years, and I've seen it in not only the students who appreciate what they're getting, but also the whole school community. It just helps in building a climate which feels safe. It helps in building a climate where people are valued, people are connected. And I think, our work as an educator is, focused a lot on students' well-being and their future. And when students feel this safe environment and feel valued and empowered at school, they will not only excel academically and socially, but also grow to become those capable, confident adults and share their voices, take actions, and serve others. That is where emotional intelligence or the heart intelligence comes into picture.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question that we have is, The planning as also the goal are perfect, but for holistic development, the teacher's behavior is the main requirement. Are there any rigorous training programs for teacher training? This is asked by Usha Bhatia.
May I answer this? See,
Sure,
as
ma'am.
of now, there is no official program for teacher training which deals with all these topics. But what schools are doing on a one-to-one basis is they approach organizations who come and give this kind of training to their teachers. For example, Heartfulness is a very good example. They have approached us and we have taken some training programs for them. Simple training programs like meditation, which is impacting the teachers' outlook, the attitudes. It has definitely changed the attitudes of teachers towards their day-to-day work and day-to-day routine. And we have also taken up this program for our students, so we can see some positive changes in our students also. So as I said, when I was answering one question, if in the government programs, official programs itself, we have one subject called ethics or value education, which has to be taken really very seriously. It is not just for passing exams. Or even now, the CBSE has a value education program. They have health and physical education, which has one strand of seva. All right. But all the children know is it is only for the sake of getting a grade. But if we give equal emphasis on all these other activities, and in the new education policy, it is emphasized. It's very much spelled out that the core academic subjects and the co-curricular subjects will be given equal importance. I think that will be the right approach, so that teachers will also take this topic seriously. And it is not that, what happens in many schools, come the exams, when it is nearing exam time, the maths teachers want an extra class. So what is sacrificed is the value education class or the PT class. So I hope that in the near future, this doesn't happen, and value education, ethics, heartfulness, all these topics are also taken up seriously, first by the principals, and then only it will trickle down to the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I saw Vipul sir turning on his screen. Vipul sir,
Yeah.
would you like to add to this?
So actually, yes, no?
Yes, now you're on.
Yeah, are you able to hear me? Okay. So I guess maybe I'll shut down my video just to see if that helps. So basically, there's a couple of things. I think you've really hit the nail on the head in that if you really wanted to do this and do this right, you have to start with the teacher, because more often than not, anytime you want to introduce anything into the existing education system, the way it is shaped right now, the way it is designed right now, the major rate limiting factor, the major throttling agent is going to always be the teacher. The better your teacher is at dispensing whatever it is that you need dispensed in a classroom, the more likely it is that it is actually going to be taken seriously out there. To that point, I think what you should be looking at is the way that you actually, groom your teachers from the ground up. Right now, when a teacher actually goes through her entire B.Ed program.
So we lost you.
Are you able to hear me? Let me know if
Yeah.
you hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we can. Now I can.
So, as I was saying, so I think, one of the things that you probably want to do is look at is the fact that, most teacher training programs, if they did pay any attention to value education at all, if they did, it's probably, they're just paying it lip service. There's probably not anything substantive over there. And so basically changing that, when you actually change that, where you start to basically shape the teachers from when they are students, and you start to basically shape them from the ground up to really take this seriously, not just as not potentially just as a subject separately, but in the context of literally everything that they do, everything that they teach, then and then alone are you really going to see this thing really hit stride over time. So, I mean, I think if you really want to do this right, I think looking at like teacher training, the way it is shaped right now, is one place that I would think you would look at it. The other thing that I've seen is also when you actually go into a school system. Anjali ma'am brought up an excellent example of, you know, the priorities of the system come out very quickly under pressure. So when there's pressure to basically complete syllabus, you will have a situation happening where, the thing that the thing that gets sacrificed first and foremost is, as you just heard in schools, is going to be value education, PE, arts and craft, which really tells you what the priorities of the system are, because that's the way the priorities have been, that's the way the system has been designed. And so if you really again want to take this thing seriously, there's probably anytime you want to do anything and you think that it's important, you need to make space for it. And actually making space for this, which means not just giving it a time, but also giving it credit. The fact that if you are basically working towards passing your 10th or 12th standard exam, this is basically one thing that will be taken seriously, is something that you should know upfront. If you did that, you would have again a very different sort of outlook towards all of these things that really are important but aren't being treated as such.
Paula, I know we may be running out of time, but is it okay for me to just share a couple of thoughts on this?
Sure, sure.
Awesome. So just expanding on all of this that I'm hearing, excellent conversation. I love the discussion and the importance of having a tool or having a program which caters to the social emotional life skill building, right? So one of the things that Heartfulness does is provide an environment for educators as well to get trained. And that is what Dr. Gurjar was mentioning, that we do have training programs for educators. We take them through the platform of not only experiencing tools of heartfulness, but to get trained in that, feel empowered, and also to engage in their classrooms with those tools. I teach math, and there is a lot of anxiety in my classroom most of the time. So I definitely feel that bringing these tools as an interweaving opportunity for students to grow within my math classroom is something that I do as an educator. So having these tools accessible for my students, if they're having a test or an assessment, just relax, do a 5-minute relaxation with them. And it makes a huge difference, trust me. I have a lot of my peers who tell me that I don't have time, I have to finish this, I have this much curriculum left, and I have to cover so many things. But I suggest to them saying that take 2 to 3 minutes, and that's all it takes for you to build that skill with your student community. And when you do that, it makes a huge difference, trust me, on how the students develop cognitively as well. And we are doing a lot of research on it. We are looking at how heartfulness programs especially is having an impact on stress levels of students. We are looking at the impact of heartfulness on emotional wellness. We recently did a study on heartfulness and loneliness in high school students, and it showed an amazing result of how just a 28-day intervention can make a huge difference in the loneliness scales of high school students, especially during this COVID time, where that community is no longer there for them, right? So it's very important, and I really urge the viewers and the presenters who have been excellent in presenting their papers to really think deeper into how we want to do this. We're all educators, we are administrators. How do we bring this environment where it is like almost living day-to-day lives? How do we bring these tools in that environment, right? So that is the urge from me to you all, that please try and bring these tools and have them accessible to all of our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have lots of questions coming online, but I think we have time for just one more. And it is to all my panelists here, that the teachers want to know, how can we assess students' learning progress during the online classes?
Shall I go with this? Because we are already doing it right now.
Sure,
And
ma'am.
I just had a parent-teacher meeting today wherein I briefed the parents about, what kind of assessments they are going through. We are going to undertake for them towards the end of this month. See, it is one thing to give an online paper, to trust the children to write without cheating. That example which I just mentioned, whether you want to get a 90% after cheating, or you're happy with a 60 or 70% without cheating. So there are many technical tools available. You can make use of technology, like Google Classrooms have forms, the teams have forms. If you want me to tell you about the technical part of it, there are a lot of online tools available for testing students. The easiest one is to make a question paper in your conventional way and send it across by WhatsApp, because in India WhatsApp is a very popular mode of communication. So students can just look at the paper on WhatsApp. You have to brief the parents that they have to supervise the children when they are writing the paper, and you have to really request them and implore that do not help the child when the child is attempting the paper. The child will not be sent to the gallows, or nothing is going to happen if the child scores less. It is just that you want to assess how effective the online teaching has been, because it is one thing that the child attends the class daily, stares at the screen, nods to what the teacher is saying, or once in a way when the teacher has time to ask the child, he just does some unmute. The children are very good at it nowadays. They do unmute, they switch on the videos and they answer in a word, or they just nod their head or something like that. So that is not a very good assessment, especially because all these years we were doing a different kind of assessment. Suddenly we cannot switch on to this mode of assessment. But whoever has asked that question, please use the online assessment tools. I can recommend Google Forms. MS Teams has MS Forms, or you can send emails of question papers. And what many schools are doing is they are getting back the answer sheets after scanning, and then the teachers are correcting those answer sheets, the scanned versions of those answer sheets. I know some schools are also printing the answer sheets in school and giving them or handing them over to the children. But I don't know how feasible it will be for a school which has many thousands and thousands of students and 5 subjects per student and at least 4 papers, 4 answer scripts per child per subject. So whether it is really feasible to print. But till then, we go on with the MCQs. We keep a limited time. And as soon as the time limit is over, we delete the paper from the site, or whatever is the technical online platform you're using, and you get the scores of the children. It will not be a traditional assessment, but it will give you a fair assessment of whether the teaching learning process has been effective. I hope that will give you some guidance towards how to hold assessments during these times of COVID.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Some very great inputs. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just chime in if I might. Do we have
Sure,
any?
sure.
Okay, so this may be very self-serving. It may come across as like as like really a self promo, but honestly, so this organization that I work with, Khan Academy, they basically serve anywhere between 6 and 9 crore learners worldwide, any given month. India about 15 to 20 lakh, 15 to 25 lakh people or so any given month again using Khan Academy. It's free. It costs nothing. There's no fine print over here. And essentially, it focuses the downside is that it only focuses on math and science. But some of the things that are a necessary evil for a teacher when you're using online resources like creating question papers, like assessing them, having them sent across, having some sort of a mechanism to send them across, whether it's as you just mentioned, ma'am, Google Forms or MS Forms or WhatsApp, and then bringing them back somehow and then having them corrected. All of that is taken out of the picture because essentially it's an instant evaluation. You will basically have some really good content, and I've worked at several education organizations, and honestly the kind of people that basically create content out here are 2 notches above what I've seen in most of the other organizations, mainly because of the mainly because of the goal that this organization has, which is to serve any learner anywhere for free, and it shows. So basically there's people all over the world that use this resource. It's basically, it's very user friendly, doesn't require a lot of the teacher's time, so very time efficient from a teacher's perspective, and essentially does some of these headache like and very mechanical activities. It takes them off a teacher's plate and takes care of them for a teacher. Give it a shot if you would like to. Khanacademy.org is the URL. Yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback on Vipul sir, saying that I use Khan Academy a lot, and there are various different tools that are available as well. So utilize what works for you. What is it that you're looking for, and how you want to have your students assess. One of the things that I do is I go into discussions with them, and yes, the discussions are possible in a math classroom. Okay, so many educators and peers of mine think, what, we don't do any discussions in a math class, but we can definitely have a good robust discussions on various different topics that we have in mathematics as well. So use what you want to use to assess your students, because I think we all know we are all trying to do at this point of time the best for them, for our students. And I think anything that we are doing is not going to go in vain.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now we come to the end of the session. I would like to again thank our esteemed panel that we have with us today, Dr. Ranjani Iyer, Vipul Reddy, and Dr. Anjali Gujar. We all benefited from your knowledge and depth of expertise. And thank you for giving us your time. It really helped to make it a success. I would also like to thank our paper presenters, Ms. Nandini Agarwal, Ms. Mridula Kolale, Ms. Neeru Malik, and Ms. Anjali Google. Thank you for your presentation, and I'm confident that all the educators and teachers who joined us today have learned from your research and findings. I also would like to thank all the educators, teachers, and parents for joining us today. Thank you for your unwavering attention throughout the presentation, for your comments, for your interaction. Thank you very much. I also thank all the volunteers that we have today. Today, we all recognize the role and importance of multilingual and multicultural education. Based on the discussion that we had today, we know that we are on the right track, and with right manpower, domain knowledge, and a strong intent, we'll be able to provide holistic education to the future ready global citizens. I hope the sessions helped you, and it will help you in shaping future schools for our generations. Please join us again tomorrow for day 3, where we have a session on value-based education from 10 a.m. Sorry. Thanks again, and now we close the session.